So let's look at MVC in iOS. How does this apply here? You can see in this diagram here, I'm depicting the controller and the model and the view, and you can see that there's some arrows that are pointing from the controller to the view and back, and the controller to the model and back. And in this aspect in iOS, where the controller is really being the middleman that's going to communicate information back and forth. When something interesting happens in the model is going to communicate that to the controller, or the controller is going to query that, however you want to implement that, and then the controller is going to update the view. In the same token, if something happens interesting in the view, like a user presses a button, the view is going to communicate that button press to the controller, and then the controller may respond by updating the model or changing the model in some way, telling the model to change itself rather. So let's look at how this applies in iOS development. So first of all, the view traditionally is going to be the nib files. These we haven't gotten into much yet, but we're going to get into the next module especially. But this is what the user sees. This is the layout that you put the buttons and the different controls on, and that's typically what is defined as the view. So you might have like a text box control and a button on there, and that's going to be the view. The controller is what we're going to really talk about in this module, which is the view controllers. These are the classes. We took a brief look at these before, but this is the classes that basically operate against the view, and then we're going to use them to query our model, which we hadn't seen before. And this is where the view controllers are where the UI kit and the iOS architecture really interacts with our system. It's going to be controlling things through the use of our view controllers. And then finally the model. In this case, this is kind of a debatable part and confusing really of where does the model exist and where is its place? And really I think the answer to that is it's your classes, your custom classes that you make that are not derived from a view controller and that are not nib files. And pretty much all of your additional classes will constitute the model. And the model may be very simple. It may just be a class that stores some data, but it may go and know how to persist itself and to do things and have some state and a logic to it. However you implement that, I think this is a fairly good model to follow that can take some of the confusion out of MVC and iOS.